It's Thursday, August 20th. In the headlines, the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation and Tax Administration Jamaica target 432 halfway tree properties in $162 million tax drive. The Planning Institute of Jamaica reports Jamaica's employed labor force decreased year over year. In business news, Jamaica is projecting a return to economic growth year-end. Regionally, CXC reports surge in exam irregularities. And in sports, young reggae boys reach CFU's under-14 semi-finals after a perfect group run. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Owners of 432 properties in the Halfway Tree area are being targeted in a joint compliance drive by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation and Tax Administration Jamaica. The three-day operation, which began today, is aimed at recovering $162 million in outstanding property taxes and improving compliance. Kingston's Mayor Andrew Swaby says the arrears, excluding the current 2026-2027 financial year, date back as far as 6 years. He said 151 of the 432 properties are associated with businesses, accounting for $96 million in outstanding property taxes. The campaign also targets trade license arrears with 195 businesses in the area owing an estimated $48 million. Over the next 3 days, field teams will visit businesses to provide information and guidance on bringing their accounts up to date. Planning Institute of Jamaica's Director General, Dr. Wayne Henry, says Jamaica's employed labor force decreased by 25,700 persons year over year, with women accounting for 2/3 of the decline. He shared the data during the PIOJ's quarterly briefing this week.
The number of persons employed decreased by 25,700 persons to 1,418,800 relative to April 2025. Male employment fell by 8,500 to 761,000 persons, while female employment decreased by 17,000 to 657,900 persons.
According to data from the PIOJ, unemployment edged up to 3.7% in April from 3.3% a year earlier. Youth unemployment rose 1.6 percentage points to 11.7%. Jamaica is set to host the 48th Regional Conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's Caribbean, Americas, and Atlantic region. The event will be held from August 30 to September 5 at the Moon Palace Jamaica Hotel in Oteria, St. Anne. Held under the theme, Strengthening Parliaments in the Digital Age, the conference will focus on parliamentary dialogue, institutional development, and emerging issues including artificial intelligence, regional cooperation, diplomacy, inclusion, youth engagement, and democratic accountability. The conference will also include regional meetings of Commonwealth women parliamentarians, presiding officers and clerks, and the CPA Regional Youth Parliament. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Juliet Holness, in her capacity as chairperson of the Executive Committee of the CPA Caribbean, Americas, and Atlantic region, will lead Jamaica's engagement in the conference. She shared some details at a recent JIS think tank.
We chose this because it was timely for us in Jamaica, and we realize it is also of significant importance for many of the countries in the region. Artificial intelligence and how it impacts both legislation and legislating for artificial intelligence, and a significant and fast-paced improvement in technology was a key area. Why a key area? How do we really legislate for AI? How do we legislate for things that we do not know today because it happens just by tomorrow?
Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says Jamaica is moving to standardize rules governing student dress and grooming with a national policy expected to come forward shortly. The policy will require schools to clearly outline their grooming standards, communicate them to parents and students, and enforce agreed sanctions.
Speaking at the final day of the Jamaica Teachers Association's annual conference, Dr. Morris-Dixon says the National Student Dress and Grooming Policy will codify existing school rules and make expectations clearer for students and the parents.
In terms of policies that you'll see coming forward in short order is the National Student Dress and Grooming Policy. That's very important. Again, I note, and I've said this before, school is not a runway. You go to school to learn. If you have rules around uniform, that's the rule. That's the rule. And I want you to be adamant about that.
Under the proposed policy, schools will be required to put their grooming rules in writing and share them with parents before students enroll.
What this National Dress and Grooming Policy will do is codify that. It says that a school must have its grooming policy written. It must share it with the parents so the parents know this is what you're getting into when you go to the school. And then you implement it. You say what are the sanctions and you stick to it.
The minister notes the rules will be developed through consultations with students, parents, and school administrators, but once established, they must be followed.
You do your consultations, right? Well, as with any policy, you hear from the students, you hear from the parents, and you as administration, you come up with your policy, and then you circulate it.
Dr. Morris-Dixon asserts there will be a zero-tolerance approach to breaches, while parents are being asked to reinforce the rules at home.
Students must follow the rules. And parents must encourage the children to follow the rules. Because a lot of times that's where the problem is. And so we will have a zero tolerance on this. Students must wear their uniforms and must follow the rules of the school.
The Education Minister says the National Student Dress and Grooming Policy will be introduced in short order, with schools expected to clearly communicate their standards and the sanctions to parents and students. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Danita Rodney.
Gas prices in Jamaica have climbed significantly over the past few months, driven by shifting global oil markets and adjusting local pricing caps. For most Jamaicans, cooking gas is a necessity. Did you know that you can save gas by using a lid on your pots and turning the flame down to low once the food boils? Watch the following story for more smart ways to save cooking gas.
Truth is, if you feel like your cylinder is running out faster than it should, the problem may not be the gas. It could be the way you are using it.
Ideally, your flame should be beneath your pot, not at the side, beneath your pot. It all boils down to heat transfer, so that you optimize heat transfer by having the flame on the opposite side of the food, at the bottom of the pot. If the flame is on the side of the pot, you're really heating the kitchen, which is not what you want to do. So you're wasting gas.
It sounds simple, but matching your pot to the size of the burner helps direct heat exactly where it's needed, under the meal, not around it.
So you want to ensure that your pot size is such that the flame, or if you're using an electric oven, that the burner is beneath the pot. If you're using a small pot, you want to ensure that the burner that you're using is small enough so that the flame is concentrated beneath the pot and not at the sides.
And while many home cooks remove the lid to keep an eye on dinner, doing so could be letting money escape with the steam.
I would imagine some dishes are best done with the pot covered or open. And speaking from a purely energy perspective, so when you put your pot cover on, what you're doing is trapping the heat and the steam inside the pot. And you're also allowing a higher buildup of pressure inside the pot. If you think of a pressure cooker, you cook meat a lot faster, the pressure cooker, because that cover is on and it allows the pressure to build up. So keeping that lid on, having all those effects, the heat being trapped, the steam, the pressure, allows for a higher temperature to be achieved inside the pot using a lower flame. And so you end up using a lot less cooking gas if you keep your lid on, the cover on.
Another smart strategy.
Batch cooking, I think, would definitely be a more efficient means, again, for saving energy and time. If you can get a big pot, again, keep it covered and cook that way, you definitely do some saving there.
With just a few small changes, every meal can stretch a little further, and so can your cooking gas.
In the business report, the Planning Institute of Jamaica is projecting a return to economic growth in the October to December 2026 quarter as recovery from Hurricane Melissa gains momentum across key sectors. PIOJ's Director General, Dr. Wayne Henry, says the expected expansion will be supported by increased reconstruction activity.
The main supporting factors include 1. Faster pace of recovery for most industries due to the gradual easing of the adverse impact of Hurricane Melissa. 2. Full operationalization of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, by the latter half of the fiscal year, which is expected to drive reconstruction efforts and further stimulate construction activity. 3. Timely resolution to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. And 4. Favorable weather conditions to support the recovery in agricultural output and water production.
Dr. Henry was speaking at the PIOJ's quarterly briefing this week. Motorists should see an increase at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, August 20, according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. 90 octane will be sold for $213.22 per liter after an increase of 25 cents, while 87 octane will be sold for $205.80 after an increase of $1.43. Automotive diesel will be sold for $233.50 after an increase of $4.50, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will be sold for $253.58 per liter, up $4.50. Kerosene is also up $4.50 to be sold for $204.91. Propane liquid petroleum increased to $77.29 per liter after a 93 cents increase, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $85.92 per liter, up 25 cents. Remember, retailers will add their respective markups to these prices. We have more news on the financial market from Denise Williams.
For the trading period of August 19, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 3,800,575 units representing 14.46% of market sales. Wigton Energy Limited with 3,331,684 units representing 12.67% of market sales. Tropical Battery Company Limited shares with 3,161,194 units representing 12.03% of market sales. Investor activity remained concentrated in distribution and transportation plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for August 19, 2026. Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $159.40 and buying at $157.78. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by $1.50 transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $115.19 and was bought for $113.69. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of 82 cents in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $216.36 and bought for $215.54. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, when food prices rise faster than salaries, the real issue is shrinking purchasing power. A household may begin charging groceries, utilities, or other necessities simply because the paycheck no longer covers as much as it once did. Over time, that can increase credit card balances, utilization, and debt, and eventually lead to missed payments. But here's a bigger lesson. You cannot build lasting wealth by constantly issuing debt to compensate for stagnant income. Your strategy should be protect your credit by paying obligations on time. Create breathing room by controlling recurring debt. Increase earning power through better employment, business, or additional income. Build assets that appreciate or generate income. Use credit strategically to assess opportunities, not to permanently finance consumption. The goal isn't simply to maintain a good credit score. The goal is to build enough income, credit capacity, and assets that your financial position continues to improve even when the cost of living rises. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, in Trinidad and Tobago, the alarming number of students across the region who did not sit this year's May to June Caribbean Examination Council exams has prompted one psychiatrist to ask if the exam methods need to be changed. He says fear of failure may be a major factor, and is also urging parents to watch for signs of depression among students disappointed by their results. More details in this report.
Psychiatrist Dr. Varma Dayal Singh has suggested that the Caribbean Examination Council may have to change its method of examining students. His suggestion comes in the wake of CXC's revelation that almost 36,000 students stayed away from their exams.
The way the exams are now are going is somehow not connecting with our students now. Now, CXC exam was there and a lot of persons did it, but you have to look at there's a change, a psychological change occurring in children worldwide. So is it now that CXC now has to now fit back in to a different way, a different modality, something that could attract the children, go back to some system that is now going to now be more amenable for the children to learn with their minds changing with this quick turnover of material. So we have to look at that as one thing.
The psychiatrist noted that an overwhelming fear of failure is likely one of the reasons that students stayed away from the exam room.
If a child is not prepared, a child now will have that fear of going into that exam, because you're going into an exam and you're probably not prepared. And you see, you have to know now that fear would be shouting louder than courage, to go and face the exam. So they are scared, and that scare, they are scared probably of disappointing parents, their peers, their families, and themselves sometimes being possibility of failure.
CXC released the examination results for their May-June examinations on August 18th, 2020. 2026. Dr. Dialsingh said some students who fell short of their expectations in the exams may be showing signs of depression. He explained the symptoms to look out for and when support may be needed.
Now, the thing is, so if they withdraw, if they're not speaking, if they not seeing friends, if they're now being all alone, not talking, not eating, not even enjoying things they used to enjoy. So let us say before that they used to do gaming plenty and you always be calling them, get out the games and do your work, but now they're not even bothering with that. That's a sign that a child may be having a sort of a depressive episode coming on. If their mood changes, if they start to have anger outbursts, crying, talking about hopelessness, even physical signs.
More than 100,000 students across the region registered to sit the CSEC and CAPE examinations. However, more than 35,900 candidates, approximately 35%, did not show up to write their exams.
The Caribbean Examinations Council is reporting a sharp increase in examination irregularities, with cases rising from 80 last year to 128 in 2026. The council says the offences include unauthorised devices, collusion and prohibited materials, as well as the first reported cases of artificial intelligence misuse, with candidates facing possible cancellation of their grades or disqualification. Gina Philippe reports for HTS News Force.
The Caribbean Examinations Council is reporting a sharp rise in exam irregularities. The disclosure was made this week during the official announcement of region-wide test results at a ceremony held in Anguilla. Cases jumped from 80 last year to 128 in 2026. That includes the first ever cases of students misusing artificial intelligence, a growing worry for officials. The sharpest increase in misuse was at the CSEC level. 106 cases were reported among CSEC candidates. That is up from just 57 last year. CAPE cases remained steady at 22. Some students committed the same misconduct across multiple exams.
The top 3 issues we had this year: the use of unauthorized devices. This represented the largest instance reported. 2, collusion, where candidates are trying to work with each other in an exam to complete the exam. Thirdly, use of unauthorized material, and the new one on the block, AI misuse. We have never had this before. This is new. So it is critical for us to understand that similarly, like we did in terms of the AI policy framework, and happily to know that Anguilla has done their own national policy, the Caribbean Examinations Council did standards and guidelines for the use of artificial intelligence in our assessments, and more so generally across. And so the AI assessment scale done by Perkins et al. 2014, we have adapted it, and we have shared with the ministries. So just to say that before the misuse of AI, we had already provided these guidelines, and we are still encouraging schools to adopt and use and whatever they want to do, but it's all in the vein of protecting our candidates.
Dr. Nicole Manning is CXC's Director of Operations. She warned that students caught cheating face serious consequences.
Irregularities mean that a candidate, for whatever reason, may have entered an exam and conducted themselves in an inappropriate manner. That can be disrupting, unruly behavior, the use of a cell phone, can be anything. And so this year we saw a whopping 128, moving from 80. And this is not something the Caribbean Examinations like to see, because candidates who commit an irregularity, have any of those misconducts, their grades are either cancelled or they're disqualified.
Dr. Manning also had a warning for students using AI platforms. She said students should not enter personal information into AI tools.
Students, and I'm looking at you, do not put your personal identifiable information in any and any source, in any and any platform, because that's taking your identity.
Despite the cheating concerns, there was good news. CXC provided compassionate consideration to 359 students. These students faced genuine hardships like medical issues or bereavement. The council says these candidates were not disadvantaged. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
In sports, we start with football. Jamaica's under-14 Reggae Boys have advanced to the semi-finals of the Caribbean Football Union's Under-14 Challenger Series after a 2-0 victory over Curaçao in their final Tier 1 Group C match in the Dominican Republic. The result saw Jamaica top Group C with a perfect 9 points from 3 matches. The young Reggae Boys have scored 7 goals without conceding. Head coach Vassal Reynolds praised the team for achieving its first objective and improving with each game. Jamaica will now turn its attention to the semi-finals as it continues its quest for the title. In cricket news, the Jamaica Kingsmen produced a dominant 51-run win over the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots in Kingston, sending them soaring from the bottom of the table to second place in the Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League. Nasir Mohammed has the story.
Put into bat, the Jamaica Kingsmen slumped to 0-2 inside the first over. Saurabh Netravalkar removing both openers.
That's what he provides. He's there and thereabouts.
Reza Hendricks and Usman Khan steadied things before Wanindu Hasaranga struck twice to leave them at 54 for 4. Enter captain Rovman Powell and Kimo Paul. Paul announced himself with a reverse sweep, then exploded. 2 sixes off Hasaranga, a 50 off just 30 deliveries, and a blistering 22-run over. He fell for 65 off just 36 balls. But the damage was done, with the Kingsmen posting 181 from their 20 overs.
That's high. Who wants it? Obed McCoy himself wants it. This is a steepler. Takes. Now that's gone. That's with the wind. And that.
In reply, the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots crumbled early, slipping to 31 for 3. Then 64 for 5.
That's a big shot. That's a 6. Kevin Wickham all the way. That's a huge shot. That looks close. Oh, there's a collision. This could be out.
Kevin Wickham and Navin Bidesi fought back, but couldn't close the gap. Andre Russell struck twice. And Paul returned to mop up the innings, finishing with figures of 3 for 30 as the Kingsmen sealed a 51-run win.
The Patriots are set to meet the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons today at 6 p.m. at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. And that's the news on PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.